Hello, and welcome to Career Infusion. I'm your host, Tracy Kane Lofty. Career Infusion is brought to you through the Lofty Group, which is a consulting company that focuses on career development and organizational leadership. We are actually streaming live from the Listen Vision recording studio in Washington, D.C. Today, our show focuses on the balance of faith and career. I am absolutely delighted to have with me my dear friend, Pastor Cassandra Smalls Nicholson.
I'm so honored to be with you, Tracy. This is truly a pleasure.
Okay. Well, let me go over a little bit regarding Pastor Nicholson so that you can know exactly her background and experience. Cassandra Smalls Nicholson is the pastor of Nehemiah Ministries International, where they focus on rebuilding lives one brick at a time. This ministry reaches into the community, providing various services and reclaiming lives back to Jesus Christ. Cassandra is a real estate investor and the founder of the Daughters of Zelophehad, which targets young women who need to identify and to take control of their inheritance through wise decision making. Cassandra is the author of The Art of Being Found and has traveled the East Coast delivering her messages of healing and restoration to benefit every person spiritually, emotionally, physically, and financially. She has conducted many seminars, retreats, and workshops, and has also counseled married couples as well as single individuals. Pastor Nicholson, who is in demand inside and outside of houses of worship, is an unparalleled preacher, author, speaker, and motivator. Cassandra, a public employee of the County of Essex Division of Family Assistance and Benefits, formerly the Division of Welfare for the past 27 years, is the administrative supervisor for the TANF office. This office administers cash, medical, and food assistance to the most vulnerable population in the largest county in New Jersey. Cassandra has attended seminary in Morristown, New Jersey, received a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice from the University of Maryland at College Park, and a Master of Public Administration degree from Rutgers University. Cassandra has married her childhood sweetheart, William Nicholson, and they have one daughter, London. Cassandra, again, I am so delighted for you to be on the show today. So today we're going to discuss balancing faith and career, and then we're also going to talk to what led you to creating your successful book and how others may be able to do the same. As you know, Career Infusion really focuses on empowering individuals to pursue their professional goals. And so we want our viewers to learn some tips from you. And we've known each other so long, I'm sure dialogue is just going to flow.
Yes.
And I have known Cassandra for over 30 years now.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So from the time we met the first week at the University of Maryland, College Park, till now, I can tell you she has really been a true inspiration. She is such a positive person, and I was not surprised when she decided to go into the ministry, and she comes from a very religious family. So, Cassandra, tell us a little bit about what led you into the ministry.
Well, I think that there's a calling that God puts on everyone's life to go a certain career path. And one of the choices that I had, given my wide experiences from bad relationships to bad decision making, even at the University of Maryland, led me to rethink a lot of things that I've done. And I realized that if I had listened to an inner voice that was speaking to me, I would have made some different choices. And so in following that, I wanted to empower other people, because usually when there's a call, there has to be a need. And I saw the need that there were many people, not just young women, but young men as well, that make poor decisions. And I learned from the decisions that I made, and I wanted to empower them to also do the same, to also make better change for their lives, to leave a legacy and a future for those that are coming behind them.
Okay. Well, Cassandra also is a motivational speaker. That is a part of her ministry. And I know that there have been times, especially years ago, and she would say, "Girl, you got to let that go." And so I remember that to this day. And so we are all responsible, really, for our own paths. And it's up to you to take the gifts that God has given to you and to move forward, whether it's pursuing your career goal, whether it's having the relationship that you want. But you also need to be able to, I believe, know when to count your blessings, because you can be so busy trying to achieve what you think is going to make you happy when you're overlooking those blessings right in front of you. Cassandra, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, you definitely have to look at what's presented before you and know what you're going. You mentioned me always saying, that was my phrase, let it go. I have become the queen of let go. And one of the things that I noticed early about you, which really empowered our relationship to be stronger over the years, is that you always had a plan. And so this was ultimately your calling. What you're doing now, Career Infusion, is your calling. That's your passion, because you always had a plan. When I did not know what an internship was, you were already on your third one. And so when I began to pick up some of the principles that you showed me and shared with me, and also being the queen of let go, when you meet obstacles, when you meet failure, not to give up, but to be impassioned about what you believe, and to then find another way, execute the plan that you've been given, and keep moving forward.
Well, and what you just said, we've learned from each other. And it is so important to surround yourself with positive people. The people who are saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, don't do that." They may not be a part of your team. You want to have a positive team. Surround yourself with positive people. Of course, you want people to, tell you when reality needs to truly kick in and keep you in balance.
Yes.
But again, surround yourself with positive people.
Yes, your team is so important.
Yes.
Your team is so important. I can remember my father telling me, if you show me your friends, I'll show you who you really are. Not who you're pretending to be, but who you really are. And so when you realize the circle that you surround yourself with, that is who you are becoming or who you already are. And so I began to build my power structure that was around me to people who've already accomplished what I'm desiring to do, and that can also leave the little trail of breadcrumbs of this is how you get to the next level of where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Well, today we are going to, of course, talk about balancing career and faith.
Yes.
And I believe that so much of that, the decisions that you make on the job really have to do with your own connection with your faith. You want to have your decisions to be ethical, and you
Absolutely.
demonstrate integrity through your actions. And I always, for the people I've supervised, they will let you know I am concerned about them as a person. I'm more concerned about their own career goals and the projects I have them work on. Of course, we have strategic plan and activities that have projects that have to be completed. But in the end, like when I give their evaluation, what is it that's going to help them get to the next level? How can I make them a better employee and help them to also pursue their career goals? So Cassandra, if you could talk a little bit too about your how you make decisions on the job. You have been a supervisor with the state of New Jersey and worked
Yes.
in the department for more than 27 years. How has your faith helped guided your decisions?
Absolutely. You have to realize that your faith is who you are and your career is what you do. And those are married together. They are definitely intermingled together because who I am structures the decisions that I make. You mentioned integrity, you mentioned character. If you don't come to work on time, that speaks volumes of who you are. You don't present assignments on time or as directed. It speaks volumes as to who you are. And your faith is what builds character. It's what builds integrity. It's what builds structure. Knowing that there is absolute truth. A lot of people, and especially a lot of our younger people, that to say, don't believe that there's absolute right and absolute wrong anymore. And so you have to come with a core set of values and beliefs, and that helps you to carry out your career duties. I've been with the division, as you mentioned, 27 years. The first 11, I was a family service worker. I was the frontline worker, and I enjoyed it. I had no responsibility except for what was on my desk to do. And then when I was challenged to become more, to take the promotion for supervisor, and understanding that I had a greater calling to my job. My calling at that time that I remembered in 2001 was to develop staff. And so now that I manage an entire office, and I've done that since 2014, I realize that people come to work burdened with so many issues. And if you're not careful, because you had a fight on your way to work or you didn't eat lunch, you'll lose your job over a mood swing. And so just showing them how to navigate and balance what's going on at home versus what you need to accomplish at the workplace, getting those two to have harmony together. And that's when I realized what my focus was. Yes, I service the clients. Yes, I make sure that my staff, all of their professional needs are taken care of. But also, I'm there to be a listening ear as well. And so making that time to balance out all of that, it's challenging.
Right. So Cassandra mentioned harmony, and that is essential. To be successful on the job, you have to really have a good home life, and I believe your faith is what you end up leaning on. And I think too often people let their careers be the central focus when I really believe it's your faith that needs to be central focus, because once you have that strong faith, once you are in harmony with your God and you know who you are as a person, everything else is going
Yes.
to follow.
Yes. Everything definitely follows. We have to keep it in focus and keep priorities correct, because your job or your career can change at a moment's notice. And so you must know that that is not who defines what you are. My faith is who I am, and that cannot be taken away from me. So, yes, I'm impassioned about what I do. Yes, I love my job. Yes, I love the money. But I have to remember that is not who I am at the end of the day, and just keep all of that in line.
Right. Well, earlier you mentioned core values, and let's admit it, there will be times when a person goes astray. You may end up partying all night for a year and not remember what the year was about. But those core values, you're going to hopefully find your way back. And so it's actually very fitting that today is Father's Day. And I know your father, your mother, also played a key role They were essential to who you are, and really set the foundation. And so, for people who are juggling a high demanding career, really, how can they work more with their family in making sure that the focus is still on faith?
The focus, as I stated earlier, has to always be on faith. But what we need to understand is that the first institution that God formed was family. He formed Adam and formed Eve, and he created family. And a lot of times people get that twisted. They believe that their church is more important, that this is more important, their job is more important. Our first ministry, our first calling have to be to have a powerful family, to make sure that I'll use this as an example. You mentioned my father. He was a great man. He was a great husband, as far as I know, an outstanding father. He was a great pastor. But one thing he got caught up in, which was also part of that generational thinking, is he was there every time the church needed him. He was there when they wanted to get married, when they needed to be buried, when they needed counseling. And a lot of my activities he wasn't present at. My school plays he wasn't present at. And I think that there is a strong disconnect, and you'll find it with a lot of preachers' kids. We call them PKs, that they then become resentful of the church because I feel you took something away from me, and you don't realize that the ministry has to first be to the home. So I have to make sure, being a married woman and also being a mother, that I balance those things, that there's a hot meal waiting, that the homework is done, that the laundry is done. I have to make sure that all of those things are done. Now, do I necessarily do it? That may be a topic for another discussion. I may need to hire someone, but we need to make our families priority and show that you matter to me just as much as sister so-and-so or deacon so-and-so. And I think we are just coming around to that bend and understanding a mistake that we made in the past.
Yeah. Well, my son just finished his freshman year in college,
Yes.
but when I gave him his going away party, just before he left for college, I gave him a cross. I gave him a gold cross on the necklace, and he put it on, and I told him to always have God as the center of your life.
Yes.
And so I think more parents, need to make sure that their kids understand that God is the center.
Yes.
And my son actually went to a religious school his entire life, and that isn't to say that your children have to go to a religious school, but they needs to understand. They need to understand that there is a higher power. And I could get preachy if I wanted to, but I will tell you, I wake up every morning and say, "Thank you, Lord." Wake up every morning.
Yes, yes. It's so important because it not only gives you the core values that you were speaking of, but it also lets you know what your non-negotiables are. That I will not compromise concerning this thing. And that's very important. And especially when we release our children away to go to college, because they're presented with a lot of challenges that they may not have necessarily encountered at home. For the first opportunity, this may be the time that they've spent away from home, or there may be children that indulge with alcohol or drug use or sexual activity. So we need to be firm in what we've placed in them, and then the giving of that cross is just a reminder of what you've already put into little John, that these are the things and these are your non-negotiables. At this time, this is where you say, you know what, I'm out. And we have to plant that in our children. I think that's very important.
And it's important to note that it doesn't matter what your religious faith is. And so,
Absolutely.
I was raised Catholic because my mother's Catholic, but my dad's Methodist. I have a grandmother who's Baptist, and so I used, sometimes as a kid, I would be in the in the Baptist church because my dad played the piano for that particular choir. Then sometimes I'd be in another church, and my mother is also a musician, and she played for the Catholic church, but sometimes because her friends were Methodists, she'd be playing the piano for the Methodist gospel choir, and so my friends in school would see me at all of these churches. But so it doesn't matter
It does
what
not.
your faith is.
No, it
Okay.
does not. It does not. And that's the thing, that what makes it core is that we should all have these values. That when my children meet up with your children, the values ought to be the same. And I think that's very important. And it goes back to what I was saying about who you surround in your circle, that we go the same direction. We don't have to have the same dreams or the same aspiration, but we do understand that there's certain things that we will not do to achieve those things.
Okay. And I talked a little bit about how I wake up every morning just thanking my good Lord. But can you talk a little bit about the importance of meditation?
Oh, definitely. I believe it's an essential. It's one of the disciplines, spiritual disciplines that you should have. You ought to have a time where you're just still. And I've noticed it so more as we advance technology. We're always plugged in. We're wired. We've been trained to notice a chime or a beep or a ring, and we just go into automatic. And so to unplug yourself and to just be alone. I think about recently, my husband took me to Jamaica for my birthday, and he said, I'm not getting the plan. You are going to turn your phone off. You're not going to answer any texts, any emails. And it was an amazing experience. It was amazing. And so that's what meditation does. It steadies your mind. It calms you down. And usually meditation goes with prayer, so that there's a quiet time. Because most times when we think of prayer, it's always me asking something. God, I need this. God, I need that. God, I want you to do this. But it's also a time of listening. What do you want to say to me? What direction do I need to proceed? And that's when the meditation comes in. That's where I quiet myself of all distractions, and I'm just open to hearing what Father has to say to me.
Okay, very good. Well, we have covered some major points here. So we just want to go over some of those key points. If we could have that slide to show. Cassandra, if you want to go over these key points.
Girl, you got to read them. I don't have my glasses.
So that's okay. Unfortunately, it's not in small print because I'd have to put my reading glasses on. Okay, number 1, create and know your mission statement.
Yes, you have to know your mission statement. You have to know where you're going, what you want to achieve, so that you don't take all of these ancillary roads that lead off in different places, and you actually are reversing the course that you actually would like to travel. So know your mission statement. Know what's important. Know what you are focusing on.
Okay. Number 2, be clear on non-negotiables.
As I said before, know what is a no. Know what is a no. Many people can come and they can talk very smooth and be very charming, or their presentation can really be on point, but you need to know, this is not who I am. I'm not going to be involved in that.
Number 3, don't dumb down your abilities or skills.
This is very key. A lot of times people who don't understand that their faith is who they are and their career is just how they express it, they can be very talented people throughout the week. They can be very intelligent people throughout the week. And then when they come maybe to church or another hobby that they have, they don't use any of those skills that they have in the workplace. They don't, for example, you can have a person that's very IT oriented, and they can do anything, absolutely anything on an iPad, a computer, their smartphone, and then they come to a church that has absolutely no technology and maybe even operating on a reel to reel. So don't dumb down who you are to fit into your environment.
Okay. And then we also had operate in excellence and be consistent.
Yes, definitely. In everything that you do, you should be excellent at it. You should be excellent. Again, my faith is who I am, and I represent the Most High God. So in everything that I do, I ought to do it in a spirit of excellence. Does that mean that I'm perfect? No. Does that mean that I do everything right? No. But what I know to do right, I do it right. And I'm always looking, how can I improve this? And be consistent. The one thing that people admire is a person that does what they say they're going to do. And we should all strive to be that person.
Okay, very good. Okay, we are going to take a quick break. And when we return, we are going to discuss Pastor Cassandra Smalls Nicholson's book, The Art of Being Found. Thank you. and welcome back to Career Infusion. I'm your host, Tracy Kane Lofty. The show Career Infusion is brought to you through the Lofty Group. I am very honored to be able to continue the discussion with Pastor Cassandra Smalls Nicholson. We've had a wonderful discussion regarding balancing faith and career, and that discussion is going to continue. Pastor Nicholson, I will refer to as Cassandra, has written a book, The Art of Being Found, and that is available for sale. And most recently, it was translated into Spanish. So, if you could tell the audience, tell us a bit about the book and how it came to be.
Well, the book chronicles my life. It chronicles, as I stated earlier, I've made several bad decisions dating wise. And just with conversations with different girlfriends, not Tracy, she was one of the blessed ones, but just different conversations, we realized that we had certain things that were a common thread that ran through. And so as I overcame a lot of hurdles and obstacles, I wanted to chronicle that so that I can share it with other people, that they can recognize some of the pitfalls that they're headed towards and begin to make better decisions.
Well, so many young people are making poor decisions, and I believe they feel like they just need to be in a relationship when they don't even know who they are yet. So I think, just based upon my own years of experience, I tell young people now, you don't have to rush to get married. Back in our day, you finished college or you graduated from school, and it's like everybody just expected you to get married, and so that's what people did. Looking back, I really encourage people to work a couple of years, get to know who they are. What tips do you have for the young people?
Definitely don't do anything out of need or desperation. You will always make a bad choice. And so, therefore, I encourage our young people to focus on themselves, to make sure that they know what they want out of life, who they are, what their expectations are. And then it makes it easier for you to get a hookup with a mate, because sometimes when you don't know what you're looking for, you can't expect another person to make you happy. And so you run into all the baggage that comes with that. Our young people need to be focused on education. They need to be focused on, what do I want to do? What is my purpose? What is my destiny in life? And then, what do I want to contribute? And who is going to be the best partner to walk with me through all of those changes? If I married the person that I dated at University of Maryland, I'd be absolutely, I would be in a fix right about now. But when I wait and know who I am and the woman that I was becoming, that person changed, and now I have a partner that is growing and changing with me, so that he's not only the person that I needed in 2004 when we married, but he's also still suitable in 2017 and beyond.
One thing that I like about your book, and that is it is faith based. And so, talk about the importance of both people having a belief in God.
It is very important. The scripture talks about, how can two walk together unless they're agreed? So with your faith, again, that's who I am. There are non-negotiables by what I believe in. Some people think that it may be irrelevant that you're a believer and he's not, or you're a believer and she's not. It's not irrelevant, because there are so many factors. How we're going to raise our children. What are your dreams? What are your goals? What are the things that are important to you? And your faith, it shapes all of those decisions. And so even giving, faith talks about giving. And so if you have a person who does not believe in giving, that's even going to be a power structure struggle. So you have to ensure that you are equally, the Bible says yoked, but equally on the same page so that we all understand who we're dealing with.
And I certainly don't profess to be a relationship expert because, of course, I focus on career development and organizational leadership. But just in my 50 plus years, I feel that I'm able to give, just share my knowledge, and especially with those who want to have a balance in life, balancing career, family, and faith. It really is a lot to juggle. And I think that, going to church together or whatever you may call it, where you are going to celebrate God, I think that really helps to bring people together. That's something that people can do as a family. And we talked about earlier the importance of having a balance and how that can really help you with even advancing in your career. But talk a little bit about the family. Back in the day, there used to be some, and I keep saying back in the day, but there used to be something that said that the family that prays together stays together.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it is the center of what we believe. It's how we become stronger. We go to church, and I believe that the Bible is the final authority. So I can always believe that I'm right, and I can convince you that I am correct. But there has to be an authority that says, Sandy, you are clearly wrong. And I have to respect that so that when we have disagreements, we can be able to say, this is what the scripture says, and we have come to an agreement. So it's not really even a male-female relationship. It could be with friends, because sometimes friends even have falling outs. But you have an authority that will show you this is what's right, and this is why I take the position that I take. And so when you have that can frame your relationships and frame who you are, then unforgiveness can no longer be an issue, because it teaches that I have to forgive. That, jealousy, envy, it has a position on all of that. And so when we begin to resolve those character flaws, then we become better people.
And, I think it's important. You talked about not being jealous. And I really can't recall being jealous of anyone. If anything, there were people I wanted to be like, people I
Absolutely.
aspired,
Admired,
people
yes.
I admired. I can say even the sorority that I'm in, I remember seeing them on campus and admiring them and the way that they carried themselves, and knowing women, my mother's in the same sorority, seeing those women and how professional they were and how they really had a balance, and faith was still a very important part of that. What other tips do you have? Let's say someone is really struggling with finding that balance, and even with finding the perfect mate. As we get older, it becomes more difficult to find someone because there are even more challenges. There's more at stake. whether it's your kids, maybe you own a home, maybe you have investments. All of that is at stake. What tips would you have for someone?
The tips that I would have, again, know who you are. When you know who you are, you can weed out a lot of the counterfeits. You weed out a lot of, they may be very nice people, but they're not who I need. Again, I am a firm believer that God doesn't just put people together because you would make cute children. He doesn't just put people together because I like him, he loves me. He puts people together for purpose and for destiny. So the more you know you, the more you can appreciate where you're going and who can travel that road with you, because not everyone can travel. And so I always recommend know yourself. Know yourself.
Okay. Your book was recently translated into Spanish. Do you think you'll have any other books anytime soon?
Oh, definitely, definitely, definitely. I am working on a book right now dealing with what happens after you've been damaged and how do you repair that. So I'm excited for the journey, because there are a lot of people, and not just in church but in all walks of life, that are damaged, and we're still functioning, we're still trying to go about our daily routine, but we're bruised. And what happens when you don't get the necessary counseling, when you don't begin the self-help and self-healing, you begin to damage everything around you. And so I'm interested in helping people to do better in that area as well.
So your church is in New Jersey?
Yes.
In Newark, New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay. And then are you on Facebook? How can people contact you or also purchase your books?
You can reach me on Facebook at Cassandra Smalls Nicholson, or on Nehemiah Ministries NJ for New Jersey. You can purchase my books at exlibris.com, or you can do amazon.com and barnesandnoble.com.
Okay. And for those of you, if you have any problems, I don't know, with contacting Pastor Nicholson, you can also go to the website of the Lofty Group, which is www.theloftygroup.com. And Cassandra, again, I am so pleased that you were able to travel from New Jersey to Washington, D.C. for this interview. You are a true inspiration. And I tell you, if as the old song, my great grandmother, if I can help somebody, then my living shall not be in vain. That is you. And so, again, this is brought to you through the Lofty Group. It's a consulting company, and we focus on career and organizational leadership. We also do executive coaching. If you are ever interested in having a speaker from the Lofty Group, such as myself, to give a presentation to your organization. And when I say organization, we present to sororities, fraternities, churches, colleges, associations, and please do contact us. Again, theloftygroup.com. This concludes this segment of Career Infusion. Thank you.